Hi everybody, I'm Amy, this is my wife Maggie, and
Hello.
together we are Thinkathema, and today we have another episode of Shelfworthy for you where we're looking at Above and Below Haunted by Red Raven Games and designer Ryan Lockett.
Yes, this is actually going to be a standalone sequel to Above and Below as a 10-year anniversary from the first edition or the first version.
Yeah, now we haven't actually played the original Above and Below, but there's been quite a few changes that mean that, well, this is pretty much a standalone review of how it is now, but we'll talk about some of the changes they've made and how we feel they add to the game.
So in Above and Below Haunted, we are looking to start a new life and set up a new village. And there's this beautiful area by these lakes that have this constantly flowing water that creates these sinkholes and caves that we can go exploring in, we can go fishing, we can harvest different goods. Now, if only someone had let us know that there would be haunted, there'd be some ghosts around town. Maybe we would have done things differently. However, with the right attitude and the right wherewithal, we can work with this. And whoever ends up creating the best village will be the winner.
Now, Above and Below Haunted is a bit of a mixed bag in terms of mechanics. There's a lot going on, and it is a point salad for victory points at the end of the game. So there are many things that you're trying to achieve. The main way that you're going to get things done in this game is you start with a number of workers. They each have different abilities that allow them to do different things, like building buildings, which are the cards that are going to come into your tableau that are going to give you ongoing benefits. They might give you victory points at the end of the game, and they might give you resources that you're able to harvest with other workers, as well as workers that are going to be able to send ghosts away to your opponents when they land on your buildings so that your reputation is not tainted. And also there are workers that are going to allow you to recruit other workers so that you can increase your team. And why do you want to increase your number of workers? Well, one thing is it's going to allow you to go on increasingly difficult adventures. So in this game, you can assign a number of active workers to go on an adventure, and they're each going to have a goal on there that's going to give you lanterns if you roll a particular value on the die. Now, the adventures are a passage of text that are read out from the book that is completely numbered, and essentially it's like a choose your own adventure where you're taking on, as much risk as you want to take on to be able to get bigger rewards. Now, you follow that story, and if you achieve what you want to achieve, you're going to get lots of bonuses, but you don't know what those are when you start out on your adventure, like every good adventure. At the end of the game, you're also going to get points for harvesting different types of resources, as well as points for being the first person to get those types of resources. So a lot going on. We'll talk about more of the components and things as we get into our review.
Now, in terms of playing this game, as soon as the first time I played this, I was like, oh, this is great. This is like a mini Sleeping Gods, that it's way faster to get going, way more accessible. It's competitive.
Much better in our
So
household.
now I've got, Amy on board. And again, those books, like these are still by far my absolute favorite writing, and it's actually a combination of writers that have been involved in creating all of these little mini scenes and mini stories, and they're just I'm always like so taken by them. I'm like, what will happen? Okay, maybe I'll do this, and I just adore that.
The writing is actually wonderful. It's very well written.
Yeah.
I actually, for someone who doesn't really enjoy this adventure style game, there's enough meat on the bones here where I do feel like I'm driven by, the different ways of collecting points, getting new workers and workers that do different things in order to achieve things. But I think at the end of the day, this game, the way it feels for me is you have to go into it with a sense of adventure. You have to be okay with a bit of randomness, and you have to kind of sink into the coziness that this world provides. Like, that is the, I don't want to sit down and have, we actually covered Creature Caravan recently, and that game is much more oriented towards people who are very objective focused and want to optimize every move. This is not that game. This is more like, let's see what happens as a group. And yes, it's still competitive, and yes, I'm still going to beat you to certain things and get more points than you, but at the same time, it still has this really wonderful overlay of like that narrative.
Yes.
And one of the things that I really like, I want to talk about is like the adventure cards. So
yes, that's one of the new additions that wasn't part of the original Above and Below. Yeah. You get
Yes.
access to those adventure cards, which
Yes, so this is just a deck of cards, but it is essentially the consequences of your actions as well as your opponent's actions. So some of the cards in there, if someone goes on an adventure and meets someone that comes back and, you know, does something for the whole town, it'll introduce a new rule that affects all players for the rest of the game. And I really enjoyed that. Even though it's completely random, it means you might have to pivot your strategy. It was nice to see the storyline,
Yeah.
you know, flow through.
But it also means that you don't have this just sort of, because there isn't one overarching story. It's like all these little scenes and moments, but being able to kind of engage with the scene, and all of a sudden you get a card that is like, this is actually the character that you engage with in that scene that now gives you an ongoing benefit. So because it's like, well, now they're your friend, or they're like, you know, there's a continuing story. So next time you have a story mode, you can actually read this instead. And so it's like this, it felt more involved than just having like oh, okay, well that happened. Oh, okay, well that happened. And also, again, the writing is so good.
The writing is so good.
Yes.
Now the ghost meeples, super cute. I
Yes.
love them. And it's like a slight bit of negative interaction, but not really.
Yeah.
If you've got
Never devastating.
if you've got ghosts on your buildings at the end of a round, essentially you're going to lose a bit of reputation, one per ghost. But when you send them away, you get such a big benefit. So if you send one to an opponent, you get such a big benefit that it's like, well, actually, I want the ghost to be there sometimes so that I can banish them.
Yes.
And essentially get the benefits that they provide.
I also love that there's a building that you can construct that actually that will give you points for the ghost that you end up with. You kind of have to balance that because obviously throughout the game, having ghosts is not good for your reputation. You're that house that is just like, or that village that's fully haunted. But then, yeah, it could actually be really, really rewarding by the end. So yeah, overall, something that I wasn't expecting was how much I would feel like this is like Sleeping Gods Light and super
Well, it is
accessible.
the predecessor to
Yeah.
Sleeping Gods.
Yeah. And yeah, I just really love that. I love that this is something that's very easy to get in and out of as well. And it's not like, oh, I have to kind of set up this whole thing and commit to like hours and hours. So yeah, I really appreciated that.
Now, even though I'm kind of waxing lyrical about how cozy and adventure-like it is, that is not really a style that is in line with my preferences in gaming. But I think I was probably surprised the most by how I guess I was a little bit taken by that first game, especially where I was like, I can see how people like Maggie or like people who enjoy just like settling into a game and having that randomness and the adventure time together would really love that. So even though it wasn't for me, and as we played more, I was like, I'm kind of, you know, done with this. I still really enjoyed reading out the passages of text. Now, I did attempt to play Sleeping Gods one time, and I really did not like that
It's not
game.
your thing. Yeah.
But that had a lot more reading, like a lot more referencing the book. This has just enough, I feel, that if maybe your partner is really into story time and you're not, well, at least like this gives a bit of both. So it's a nice balance.
That's the other thing in terms of player count. I feel like ideally this is like in the lower player counts because you are kind of taking like it takes time as you're kind of going from person to person. So if it's just like the two of you and you're exploring it, then like that's great. I think it will blow out and become a little bit more sluggish at the higher player counts, and it just then. For the kind of game that it is, it just then starts to feel like it'll take too long. I also find like mechanically, it was satisfying enough, but again, like I think the thing that I resonated more with was those little moments of story. So that's what I kind of would want to highlight the most. Now, one thing that I would change about this is the fact that the game as it comes doesn't have a solo mode, so it's a 2 to 4 player game.
That's wild for this type of game.
Yeah, and so there is a solo mode that came with the stretch goal box, which again, obviously it doesn't come with part. So it's like there's a set of cards that then creates a bot essentially that you're having to facilitate. It doesn't come as part of this base, the base kind of game, which is a bit of a shame because it's like, well, the main thing with this game for me is just like going into that exploration and those stories and stuff. I haven't really played the official solo mode that again comes with that stretch goal box. I will try to at some point because to see the official one. But even then, I feel like it might be a little bit more facilitation than what I want for this game. I didn't mind it as much in Creature Caravan because I was like, actually, it facilitates really quickly. But in this one, because I'm mostly just wanting to read out the story and do my own thing, I would really love.
You need to go play Sleeping Gods. what you need
yeah,
to do.
Yeah, but it's like I think the writing in this one I was even more taken with than with Sleeping. I think like they've just been kept leveling that writing up and up and up. So I really want to go through all of these stories, and there's so much as well in it. So it's like I wish there was a mode that is more just like, you know, the ultra cozy mode where it's like I get to just explore by myself. So yeah, that would be my one request and my one wish.
Look, I wouldn't change much because even though it's not really a game for me, I can see and appreciate the audience that this is for, and my understanding of what's been added to this game, I feel like is going to add a lot for people who enjoyed even the original Above and Below. There's some nice little additions and they've tightened up some of the rules. So I think people are really going to enjoy that. But what do I want for? I want for a score pad. Why is there no score pad in this game? There's lots of things you need to add up at the end, and we always have to go find a piece of paper and a pen to add them all up, unless you've made so few points that you can add them up in your head.
That's sometimes me. I'm like, I've added them up. There was this one game that I tried. It's like, I wonder if I can get away with not doing the exploration, even though I just said it's the bit that I enjoy the most because it's like there. And yeah, the answer was no. You'll really, really struggle.
Especially when you didn't do anything else.
Well, I tried. Failed miserably. Like, yeah.
Now for me, I think, you know, one of my lowest rating games is Sleeping Gods that I've ever rated in, you know, in the history of the channel, because it's just not for me. But this one, being competitive, having like more of a puzzle and less of the story, I'm giving this a 7.5. So pretty solid for me. Not at a level where I would want to keep it in our collection because I'm happy. It brings a lot of joy to Maggie. I really like to read out the, you know, the text and to engage with the story when I'm playing it. But afterwards, it's never going to be the first game that I want to pull off the shelf because it doesn't have that tension and that like, yes, I want to go in and try harder because there's enough randomness in this game that kind of dilutes that a little bit. So yeah, it's a no from me, but...
Yeah. Well, for me, it's absolutely staying. It's absolutely staying. It's an 8.2, which is actually lower than Creature Caravan.
Interesting.
Which I gave an 8.5 to. Because interestingly, with that one, mechanically, it's so much more engaging that every time I play it, I want to play it more and more and more. Mechanically, with Above and Below, every time I play it, I'm like, yeah, I feel like I've done the mechanic thing, and I'm really in it just for the stories, like for reading all those different adventures and the narratives when I go exploring. So it ends up being a bit of, and that's why I kind of want a mode where it's like I just kind of want to reduce all the mechanic stuff that is not as engaging, and it's almost more of a distraction because I just want to explore the story. So,
and I guess people are going to ask, will it replace Sleeping Gods for you?
It won't replace them in the sense that I'm not going to kick Sleeping Gods out of the bookshelf, because I feel like this has a different, like obviously it's competitive and it's a lot faster to get into, like even the setup and and it's got that more of a, like, it's a one shot and then that's it.
But solo, it doesn't even have a solo mode built in.
Built in this mode, but I still, and again, so that's another reason for me keeping, because I want to explore what that solo mode is, and again, just putting it out into the universe. If anyone creates a version of a solo mode that is very just minimal effort and just allows you to enjoy and explore the story, I'd be down for that. Yeah.
Anyway, that is our shelf-worthy review. It sounds like it's staying.
Absolutely staying. Yes.
It's absolutely staying, of Above and Below Haunted. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll be back with more board game content soon. But otherwise, bye for now.
Bye.